Hi guys, welcome to the final part of your homework. So you've now looked at all 4 definitions and you've described and evaluated all of them. Hopefully you should have already realised that you should have be completing now the 3rd row on your big A3 summary sheet, based on what Lisa's just taken you through for deviation from ideal mental health. You could also complete the quizzes. Hopefully you've been doing those as we've been going through this. I quite like them. They're quite good in terms of assessing your knowledge. It's all jumbled up. So you could do the quizzes on deviation from ideal mental health as well, all on Moodle. You should have seen that already. So now we just need to have a quick kind of like look at some exam questions which could come up on your assessment. So it's very, very important that you pay attention here. So one common question in this area is a 6-mark application question, which might just be based on a stimulus. So you have got this in your booklet. It's on page 23, I think. So it says, Bina has been diagnosed with depression. Her doctor says that depression is a common problem, but Bina is miserable. She cannot be bothered to get washed in the morning, and her manager is unhappy that she's taking a lot of time off work. When she does go, she's irritable, has temper tantrums, and is rude to customers. So the question says, using your knowledge of 3 definitions of abnormality, explain whether or not Bina's behaviour might be considered to be abnormal. Now, few things to notice about this stimulus is that it's asking you for 3 definitions of abnormality, which can be any 3 you choose, but then it's also asking you whether or not Bina's behaviour might be considered to be abnormal. So that therefore suggests that you might be asked to give both sides. So if we look at what is given to us in the stimulus, her doctor says that it's a common problem. She can't be bothered to go to work, she's not getting washed, she's having temper tantrums, and is rude to customers. So if we look at those little bits of the stimulus, all 4 of our definitions would technically apply here. So if we start off with this idea that the doctor thinks it's a common problem, now that would suggest that she is not abnormal. Because she is common, all right, her behaviour is common, she's not actually showing statistical infrequency. So you could argue, using that definition, that she's not abnormal. However, if we move it on, if she can't be bothered to get washed, then that might be a sign of maladaptive behaviour, which means she's failing to function adequately, which obviously would mean she is abnormal. Likewise, if she's abnormal in the sense that she's taking time off work, then that means she's not integrating into normal stressful situations. So she's deviating from ideal mental health. She can't cope with the fact that she's got to go to work. Now, you could also argue that one for deviation from social norms. You could argue technically that it's not the social norm to not go to work. Vast majority of people have jobs. It is an unwritten rule of society that you go out and you earn a living. Now, social norms is probably the hardest one to justify, but you can have a go at it, or there's no reason why you wouldn't be able to use that. And then we've got this idea that she's having temper tantrums and she's rude to customers. So again, that would probably fall under failure to function adequately. She's irrational, she's unpredictable, and she's probably going to cause her boss some observer discomfort and or the customers. So they're all of your ideas. What I would like you to do now, please, is I'd like you to answer that question. I've given you the ideas, it's just a case of you putting them all together. It's worth 6 marks, and that's what you are going to hand into your teacher on the first lesson back after half term. So it's very, very important that you do this. That will be our kind of sign that you've done everything that we've asked you to do. So if you can all do that for me now, please, but there is another little section on the end. Okay, so the final thing to note here is that all the essay plans that I've given you to complete so far have only been worth 8 marks because they're only describing and evaluating one definition. However, as I already told you in the first video, you could get a 12-mark question. Now, those 12-mark questions will normally be phrased as follows: discuss 1 or more definitions of abnormality. And the reason why they're worth 12 marks rather than 8 is because they're expecting you to describe and evaluate 2. Bare minimum. You could do 3 if you wanted. So that would be nice and easy. However, you could also get a 12-mark essay, which is applied to a stimulus. So, for example, you might get a stimulus just like the one that we've seen with Bina, but the question might be, discuss 2 or more definitions of abnormality. So, refer to the experiences of Bina as part of your discussion. So, you would answer the first half of the question, the outline, in the same way as what we've done previously here. That is no different, okay? So you would pick 2 or more definitions and you would outline her experiences. However, some of you at this stage in the year would also be capable of trying to apply your evaluation points. So for this, you would do the outline, 2 or more definitions, which could explain Bina's behaviour. If you're aiming for a C2 and E grade, you would then try to do any 3 evaluation points, bog standard. However, if, like I said, you're aiming for an A or a B, you might be able to try and apply any of your evaluation points. And I'm not going to go through which ones. This really is kind of like a skill that we're looking for. When you do your CEDA assessment, which is going to be a 12-mark question, that's going to be one of the things that your subject teachers will be assessing. Have you got the ability to take these evaluation points and apply them to a stimulus material? So have a go, all right? You can make a plan. There's space for you to do one of these discuss questions in your booklet. It's the only exam question that I've not got you to do with me, so you can do that now. Like I said, I can't stress enough to you that the 12-mark question that you're going to get, which is the basis of your CEDA assessment, will be 12 marks, but it will be total and utter potluck. All right, any of the definitions could come up, so it is very, very important that you practice this. Okay guys, that's absolutely everything now from me. Don't forget that if you are interested in this area and you want to look at any additional resources, we've all contributed extra reading at the bottom of the Moodle section, and you can by all means go away and look through some of those articles or videos. Also, don't forget that all the PowerPoints are loaded as well. If you want to go back over anything, then you can get those back up. Okay, see you after the Easter holiday. Enjoy the rest of your time off. Bye.